Okay, shalom, right, wonderful lesson. We are looking at this part of the Torah regarding Zipporah, where she circumcised the foreskin of her son in order to save the Mashiach, who is Moshe, and how that's actually connected through the Gematria to all the fruits mentioned in the Talmud, the Midrash, and by the rabbis, that suggest what the tree of knowledge fruit is. Let's go and have a look. It's very, very interesting, and why that connection might be so. So shalom, we've got these few verses taken from the Torah. Now he was on his way in an inn that the Lord met him and sought to put him to death. This is Moshe, although there is some ambiguity to it, because the only use of pronouns in this particular section of the Torah. So Zipporah took a sharp stone and severed her son's foreskin and cast it to his feet. And she said, "For you are a bridegroom of blood to me." So he released him. Then she said, "A bridegroom of blood concerning the circumcision." That's taken from Exodus 4:24-26. Now if we take this section of these three verses, in the previous lessons to this, we've analysed the totals of the entire verse. Now we're just going to be having a look at this section of it. We saw in the previous lesson how this particular statement from a Samaritan point of view was that she actually circumcised her binah, her understanding, because the word for her son, binah, her son, can be the vowels on it can also read binah, which means she circumcised her understanding. And this is really quite special if we understand it like this, because we do need to circumcise our understanding so that we're able to perceive clearly what is required of us. Okay. Some brilliant gematria. So Zipporah took a sharp stone and severed her son's foreskin. We're going to straight away can look at the square ordinal 6,226, which is 11 times 566, and 566 is Mashiach ben Yosef. We saw in previous lessons how the entire of the three verses gematria related directly in two ways to the whole concept of Yeshua Sahapanim. Very interesting. Now we've got a direct relationship from this particular aspect of it, which, like I say, can literally be interpreted to circumcise our understanding, or to even open our ears. Bina is related to hearing, perceiving, discerning. So again, it's connected to the whole concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. We're going to look at this number now. This number we're going to see how connected this number is. 3,711, which is the regular and ordinal of this particular part of the verse, and how that is the absolute same value for all five fruits of the tree of knowledge. So first of all, we've got grape, comes to 122. It's got a square hundred of 456, which is exactly the same as the regular for tahaneh, which this tahaneh, fig, is the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. Moshe represents the concept of the grape. There's reasons why you can see through the numbers. I can't go through it in this lesson. I've gone through it in previous lessons. But the numbers show that Moshe is related to grape and Mashiach ben Yosef related to fig. And then you've got this whole concept of Mashiach ben Dawid related to the concept of wheat, because one of the fruits in the Talmud, these are the three fruits listed in the Talmud as to what the tree of knowledge is. And apparently the tree of knowledge, wheat used to grow on trees. Okay. So Chita was the tree of knowledge, and that's related to Mashiach ben Dawid through the threshing floor, and also through the concept of lev. 32 is the same as lev, heart. Mashiach ben Dawid is very much related to heart. We've got this statement in the context of the tree of knowledge and which fruit it is within the Talmud, Barakat 40a. It says, Rabbi Yehuda says, "It was wheat, as even today a child does not know how to call his father and mother until he tasted the taste of grain." There's all kinds of mystical interpretations regarding that, because that ultimate father is Yoteh Wahweh. Then we've got also the concept of the mother. Bina represents the concept of the mother. Chochmah represents the concept of the Father. So again, it's all about opening up, circumcising our intellectual capabilities in it to perceive Yotei Wahweh. We are in a state of Orla. It's like as if we're covered with a foreskin, with Edomite foreskin, with the Edomite exile. So we're covered in that Edomite influence, which is symbolic of a foreskin. We need to divest of this, and we need to allow our understanding to be circumcised. Okay, and also there's a concept of the circumcised trees. So there's we go through a process of allowing that fruit to get to a place of maturity. And that whole period is called Ola. It's as if it's got a foreskin on. So we're talking about a tree of knowledge. Some things have got to be allowed to mature. So we've got these numbers here. We've got the gematria, the regular gematria for all these three. If we add them together, come to 610. Now we're going to have a look at the tree of knowledge as understood in the Midrash, which is the etrog. The etrog comes to 610. So again, just as we've got this interrelation here, we've got this interrelation between all three fruit as understood within the Talmud, equated to the tree of knowledge as understood in Midrash. This comes to an ordinal of 52, added together 662. 52 is the ordinal of Mashiach. 2 times 331, and 331 is Ephraim. So this is connected to the concept of Mashiach ben Ephraim. And this concept, according to Ramchal, is very, very important. It's all about the unity that must be experienced at the end of the exile. It's got a square ordinal of 930, which is 5 times 186. Because it's so significant, because it equates to all the fruit of the tree of knowledge as revealed in the Talmud. We're going to have a look at this. This is a very important number, 186. I think it's worthy of a big deep dive, especially when we understand that it's the same, it's related to the number of the tree of knowledge. We need to know, well, if this is a tree of knowledge and this is a concealment, let's see what we can reveal from that concealment. And then we've got the concept of the tree of knowledge being a nut, and this comes from Rabbi Amram Geon. So if we add all the regulars up for the tree as found in the Talmud, with the etrog, comes to 1,220. If we add the 17 regular from aguz, nut, agoz, it comes to 1,237. So something about Zipporah doing this is equivalent and wholly to the entire possibilities of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which conceals and bars us from accessing the Garden of Eden. So something about Zipporah and her actions and her ability to circumcise her mind from what? From the foreskin that sometimes layers us up, especially when we're in Edomite exile. We need to start to remove that foreskin. I talked about that in last lesson. The foreskin that's covering up the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, and through the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, the name of Yotei Wahweh is revealed. This is also 1,237 is the regular of Sefer Toldoth Odom. This is the book of the generations of man, or the narrative of the generations of man, Adam. This word Adam is going to become very significant because it's related to this number here, and we're going to have an analyse. I said we're going to have a deep dive into it because it's very necessary. We're dealing with very big concepts. We're revealing a gematria that's very significant, and it's beneficial if we're going to have a look at it. So this is equivalent to the narrative of the generations of man. And then Ben Adam, again we've got the word Adam, very significant. Son of man, can these bones come alive? These are talking about the house of Ephraim. And we know the etrog is related to the concept of Ephraim, the concept of the Mashiach ben Ephraim. Okay. Can these bones live? Yes. They do live. This is the lost house of Yosef. can they live? What is it to be alive? It's to be alive is to be a revelation of the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, because that's the only life. It's a source of life. If life is the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, so can these bones live? Can these bones live for what purpose? To reveal the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh in his utter perfection, his authority and his sovereignty. Everything in this world is for that end. There is nothing that is not destined to reveal his name and his ultimate perfection. Okay, that's his only plan. Only God's will be fulfilled. We're busy doing whatever concealing acts that we have free will to choose to do. But God is busy doing his plan in a secret hidden way, called Mashiach ben Yosef, the secret inner dimension of the Torah, working in a secret hidden way to bring all of humanity to their perfection. Son of man, can these bones come alive? Of course they can. We're dealing with the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. Everything is possible. When Esau heard his father's words, right, so now we're going to go for a deep dive into this number because it's so significant. And like I say, it's etrog. And according to Ramchal, Mashiach ben Ephraim is very significant. I just want to read you something quickly regarding this. Okay, so this is taken from this book. Regarding Ephraim, bearing in mind the etrog as 2 times Ephraim. So it's very messianic. It says, it is written, is not Ephraim a precious son to me? And I do believe that's one of the appellations from Mashiach ben Yosef. Yirmiyahu 31:19. Why is he so precious? Since all preciousness has been seen by his eye. That's Ayov 28:10. This is the sword of Chochmah. And through the power of these spiritual luminaries, which are very much intensified, there is delight. This is the sword of a delightful child. Yirmiyahu 28:10. For the love has been intensified, therefore, since the tikkun is so great, it says, for whatever I speak of him, I remember him more so. The love intensifies, and the conclusion is, therefore, my insides yearn for him, I will surely have compassion upon him, so says Hashem. By cleaving to life, you will find life, and I have already spoken about this. Through the sifting of the Berurim, so too will Israel come out of exile. And when they arrive at Amanah, they will be able to sing. So basically, that is a mountain. Amanah is a mount. Is related to Emunah. Amanah is a mountain, a name of a mountain on which the song of redemption will be sung at the time of the ingathering of the exiles. And the Berurim is the sorting, separating of good from bad. So when we ate from the tree of knowledge, all that got mingled up. Now we've got to sort it all out. So again, it's connected to the whole concept of the tree of knowledge. That's our work to do, sift. Right, it says, 2 Mashiachs will gather together the exiles to sing the song of redemption. So we already talked about where we're going to be singing the song of redemption. It's on the mountain of Amanah, bearing in mind, this is the perfection of our faith. Now I will inform you of another great sword that Hashem, may he be blessed, wanted to do in order to bring about the tikkun to Yisrael, to remove from them all hatred and jealousy. The prophets already promised this, and the jealousy of Ephraim will disappear, and the enemies of Yehuda will be cut off. Amen. Ephraim will not be jealous of Yehuda, and Yehuda will not cause anguish to Ephraim. Amen. Understand, that's not there, I'm just saying, because I'll be glad when this comes. Understand, the 2 tribes were associated with Yehuda, and the 10 with Ephraim. In the future, these 2 will be drawn together by the Mashiach ben Ephraim. Thank goodness, let it come soon. And they will be bound to him. They will sing this song. The spiritual elevation will begin, and the other 10 will be drawn together by the Mashiach ben David. Subsequently, these of the former will be bound by this one, the latter, and those of the latter will be bound by this one, the former. And then it will be said, and they will be as one in your hand. So, this is the one stick, that the stick of Yehuda and the stick of Yosef will be bound together. However, the purpose of the elevation will not be actualized now, but rather afterwards. It says, Ephraim leads the 10 lost tribes that were exiled by Sancherib, the king of Assyria, and Yehuda leads the 2 other tribes that make up the present Jews. The 10 lost tribes have been the subject of research for hundreds of years, and many historians and ancient travellers. Ephraim was Yosef's younger son and represents a further development of the Mashiach ben Yosef. This passage in Ezekiel explains how the future Israel will be united in peace through the combining of Ephraim and Yehuda, as symbolized by inscribing their names into one single piece of wood. So that's certainly a lot of motivation behind my teachings, that unity between Yehoshaphat and Yehuda, trying to break down those barriers, trying to circumcise the barriers that's come between them both, of the two camps. I wanted to pull out this because we're going to be having a look at this number 186, because it's significant. It's related to Mashiach ben Ephraim, and this is the power to unite. Okay. 186 is the square ordinal of Yod He Waw. It's also the square ordinal of Adam and the square ordinal of Me'od. So this is a really important word, Me'od. It says, when Esau heard his father's words, he cried out a great and bitter cry, and said to his father, bless me too, O my father. So this great and bitter cry is a Me'od, great. He cried a lot until he was blessed. Okay, so there's a and then what we've got is this situation that we find now, where the whole concept of Mashiach ben Yosef has descended into Esav for an ultimate good. Now I'm just going to add my understanding of why that might be so. It's got this statement here, and Yitzchak loved Esav, and his game was in his mouth, but Rebecca loved Yaakov. So there's something very powerful about the relationship between Yitzchak and Esav. Okay, and this is my take on it. Make what you want, but when we go to the deep dive, just bear this in mind. We're in a process of revealing the name of Yod He Waw. The most powerful revelation of Yod He Waw comes from the name of, through the concept of the Mashiach, called Mashiach ben Yosef, the secret inner dimension of the Torah. So Yitzhak loved Esav. Why? Because Yitzhak was Abraham's Yechida, and we had the ram that was given to Hath Beno instead of his son. So the ram was actually, according to Yalchut Shimnei, it was Mashiach ben Yosef, and he was given so that in exile he could protect us by suffering from the entering into the 50th level of impurity, and atone for our sins during this Edomite exile. So he descended into Edomite exile. This light of Yechida, Mashiach ben Yosef, is the upper light. He's part of the Yechida. He's part of Adam that never ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because it was the part of Adam that he had not yet received. He had not had a Shabbat. He had not received his crown. So there's part of Adam that remained perfect and undefiled by the tree of knowledge. However, that light descended into Esav. The Yechida descended. If you imagine Moshe is a certain level, he's at the level of Neshama. We're talking about the level of Yechidah, where it's totally and absolutely one with the name of Yod He Waw. And the people couldn't even bear the revelation of Moshe, the revelation of Moshe's soul shining through his face. Imagine the Yechidah. It's too bright for us in normal circumstances to be able to relate to it. We have no independence in the presence of that light. It's the level of self-sacrifice. It's so bright, so pure, so holy, so one with the name of Yod He Waw that we do not have independence. There is no self left. We are nullified completely to that light. Okay? It's so powerful. It's so great. Now, if Moshe had to mask himself up, at his level, how much more would this light need to be masked up? I'll give you an indication by 70 layers of Esav's gods, the gods of the nations, the 70 nations, each one having their own god. The ultimate god is Satan. Okay? The god of Esav is Satan. And in order for that light to be expressed, like the archangel over Israel is Michael, the advocate. So the archangel over Esav is Satan. The archangel of the nations is Satan himself. So Esav and Satan, to a certain degree, garb up this light of Mashiach ben Yosef. And if you take the gematria of where Wayehav Yitzchak et Esav, it comes to 1009. And 1009 is the gematria of the Mispar Gadol of Satan. Satan, the power of Satan has to cover this light up just to prevent us from being nullified. Yet it's working with us throughout. Our own perfected aspect of our soul that didn't fall has fallen down into this exile with us the most. From the highest falls the greatest. And it's protecting us whilst we're in this Edomite exile, perfecting humanity, doing all the sorting, because we ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, sorting good from evil. And in order for that light to come down, it's got to be garbed up. It's garbed up with Satan, it's garbed up with Esav itself, but it's still here in a very hidden way, helping us. Sometimes it's that very, very faint voice within, isn't it? Where did that impulse come from? Where did that mysterious inspiration come from? That Yechidah, which is the general soul of all Israel, by the way, and it's that unites all of humanity together as one. It's very hidden in this world at this time, because on the outside we've got Esav. We're all garbed up in some kind of foreskin, some kind of ego that's yet to be refined. But in a secret way, we all having our souls perfected for that final circumcision where it will be revealed. We have perfected ourselves, and we're not only reached back to the level of Adam, we've gone over and above. We will get higher than where we fell, because we will be put in a state of perpetual growth. What's connected to the word, the name of the Mashiach called tzmech, like a tree that is ever green and ever growing and ever flourishing. Okay, so we're in a rectification process. We've got 6,000 years to be rectified. We've got this very powerful light that's helping us. We can't always see that light or perceive that light because it's garbed up in Esav. It's garbed up in Satan himself. It's garbed up in our ego. It's garbed up in accusations. The world is filled with accusations. Talked about this before. Right, let's go and have a look at this number. I hope you're with me with that. It's a beautiful way of looking at it, because we don't want to nullify ourselves completely. We want to maintain some kind of self, but we need the help of that part of our soul. We need the help of that part of the soul. But if we were to perceive it fully, we would be nullified by it. When we get to the level of, when we finally built ourselves up, we will build ourselves up to the level of Mashiach ben Dawid, who's the level of the mother of all living. At this level, there will be some self-maintained, but we haven't yet got that. We aren't yet rectified to be able to receive the Yechidah without being completely and totally nullified by it. Our self has got to be perfected to the level of Mashiach ben Dawid. We have got to be refined to that level so that we understand that the necessity of this light of Yechidah, but we are not completely nullified by it. King David is the one that prays for this light not to have to die. His prayers will be answered. In the Vilna Gaon said, the Mashiach ben Dawid will live on account of the prayers of Mashiach ben Dawid, and it also says Mashiach ben Dawid is the throne, Mashiach ben Yosef is the throne upon which Mashiach ben Dawid sits. So he manages to get himself to a level of rectification where his understanding allows him to get that level of soul into perspective. He knows that he has got to reign supreme over it, even though it's higher than him. and to not be completely nullified by it, to maintain some separation from the name of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, and to reign for that 1,000 years of Shabbat. It's all kinds of wonderful things that we've got to be able to understand at this time. So the Mashiach ben Dawid is the final aspect of, it's the ultimate destination of the Mashiach. It's the final revelation of Mashiach, where all these things, the Mashiach, the Yechidah, is survived because we've experienced so much suffering during exile, to bring us to that place where we've been corrected through all this suffering and through all this toil that we've experienced in the last 2,000 years. We've been corrected, but we've also been prepared to be able to attain that perfection without annihilating ourselves. To go back and attain that level of perfection, that level of Mashiach ben Dawid, to wear the crown of Yechidah without completely nullifying ourselves to it. Okay? All very interesting. Right, so this goes to show how connected it is to all these concepts that I've been talking about. Because you have a commanding power with an angel of God and men, and you have prevailed. Okay, so this is extremely significant, because we're wrestling through the night, aren't we? Our soul, Yaakov, is wrestling against Esav to be ultimately blessed. And this angel of Esav was none other than Satan, the angel of death. And ultimately that will bless Yaakov with the name Yisrael. And like I say, the collective soul of Yisrael, the general soul of Israel, is the Yechidah. So this has got a mispar gadol of 186. So it's exactly the same as Etrog. Well, 930 square ordinal of Etrog, which is connected to Ephraim. That's 5 times 186. We've got this concept here. Where do we get perfected man from? So we've got the concept of Tov Me'od. Man, after he's gone through the 6 days of creation, man is made, and then we're in the process of 6,000 years of rectification that's likened to the 6 days of creation, at the end of which we will be very good. The good is the good inclination, Yaakov, or Yisrael. The very is Esav, our evil inclination. Yet together we are very good. Both inclinations at the end totally refined with the pinnacle of all creation. We are very good. Where do we get that very from then? Galut, exile. And I showed you how that word was connected to Esav. He cried greatly, me'od. Okay, and he wanted to be blessed. So this is part of his blessing. Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh is using Esav. He's using our own egos. He's using the nations for a very great purpose. He's using Hasatan for a very great ultimate purpose. There's no vanity and emptiness when it comes to Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. Everything is part of a perfectly orchestrated plan for good. So you take the word galut, which is exile, and you cipher it. So it means go one in front of each letter. So the Gimel becomes a Daleth, the Lamed becomes a Mem, the Tav becomes an Aleph, and you get this word, rearranged to Me'od. And that was taken, I got that from Rabbi Yoshua Alt, turning darkness into light. So we get the odd, Me'od, from exile. What is exile? Well, wrestling with the angel of death, Esav, through the night, which is exile, till the morning, till the dawn breaks. I think that actually does come up. So Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh square ordinal 186, Adam square ordinal of 186, Me'od square ordinal of 186, Tov Me'od. It's all very powerful. And God called the dry land earth. We went through from exile into redemption on dry land. What is that symbolic of? It's this same word, liyobosha. We went through dry foot, dry shod, we went from exile to redemption. When the waters parted, the Torah is likened to water, but it's what's hidden in the or under the water that matters. It's the dry land. We can be swimming in the water forevermore. But until those waters part to reveal that name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, we're not going from exile to redemption. We've got a sea in the way blocking us, and that even can be Torah. We've got to find the way through Torah to reveal that dry land, that revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. Light to the Mashiach ben Yosef, so this is the Yechidah. It is the perfect aspect of Adam before he fell. That didn't fall. That's come down into exile with us to help raise us up back to Gan Eden. Okay, despite it not being subject to the sin of Adam. Okay, and I've pointed out this before. When that incarnated in the life of Yeshua, Hanotzri, the light of Mashiach ben Yosef incarnated in the life of Yeshua Hanotzri, became Mashiach ben Yosef incarnate, he was still just a man. Even though his soul was from the perfect aspect of the light of Adam, before he did it's no sin in it. This is why he's known as not containing sin. But when that soul incarnates into a body made of flesh, he can be just very good. He's not God. Even though his level of soul is one with God, he's not absolutely one with God. He is not God. God just made him look like a God. I've got to keep emphasizing this because we've got to have the knowledge, our knowledge restored. And part of the lies of Esav are to conceal true knowledge. True knowledge is knowledge of the Mashiach. Mashiach is called Moshe is supernal da'ath. He's the realm of knowledge. Our knowledge has fallen down into our flesh. It needs raising back up again. It needs raising back up with the power of the truth. True knowledge. What's there instead? False knowledge. This is the equivalent of Pharaoh with his raised up cobra. We should have the concept of Moshiach at the forefront of our minds. We've got a raised up cobra. We've got a false Mashiach there. We need to dethrone the false Mashiach and enthrone the true Mashiach, which is the Mashiach of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh as revealed in the Torah, which is ultimately a revelation of the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, nothing else beside him. So Metatron, Prince of the World. According to Vilna Gaon, Metatron is Mashiach ben Yosef. There's just as they've got layers and layers of confusion and lies regarding the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef within Christianity, you've got lies regarding the concept of Metatron within Judaism. It's just simple as that. It needs divesting of all these lies. It's essentially Christianity. The inner dimension of the Torah, there's not much difference between Metatron, found within the inner teachings in Judaism, and Jesus Christ, found within the Pauline teachings of Christianity. There's not much difference. Both are wrong. There's elements to it that's right. There's great elements to it that's wrong. Need divesting. And what has been done is what will be done. So this is very similar to what the rabbis say. It's very similar to what is what will be, and the initial letters spell Moshe. And it's very similar to here, Ma Shenehasehu. It's got the initials Mem, Shin, and He, Moshe again. It comes to 186, and the rabbis say, like when it comes to what is what will be, spelling Moshe, they say that the final appearance of Mashiach is Moshe. What was, the Mashiach was Moshe, is what will be. The Mashiach will be Moshe, and it's true. There's one Mashiach, is Moshe. He's just got different levels of soul. Neshama was in the body of Moshe. The Mashiach at the level of Neshama. The level of Yechidah is Mashiach ben Yosef. It's the same Mashiach, it just incarnated in different people. it's at the level of Chaya within Mashiach ben Dawid. And all these things are not fully revealed to us yet. They're all encrusted in different clipper, so we can't thoroughly see them. You've got to really do a deep dive. So 1473 is 3 times 491. So what is what will be. What will be? Yeshua is what will be. So this is Moshe. 1477 is 3 times 491. So you've got Yeshua filled with a Vav. You've got the ordinal of Yeshua. The ordinal of Yeshua, the first filling, when the Vav is filled with an Aleph. And the ordinal of the second filling of Yeshua, 320. Add them all up, 491. What is what will be. And when we unite Moshe and Yeshua together, like the stick of Yehuda and the stick of Yosef together, the light, the name is revealed, the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh is revealed within the Torah of Moshe, the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh revealed within the Torah of Yeshua, the true Torah of Yeshua, the true Torah of Moshe, not the one that's become corrupted through Erev Rav influence or through Edomite influence, the true divested Torah, which is equivalent to the 13 attributes of mercy as revealed in Exodus and the 13 attributes of mercy as revealed in the book of Micah, chapter 7. Okay. The Kof filled is 186. With its ordinal, it's 228, which is 4 times 57, 4 times HaMashiach. We've got the 4 elements to Mashiach that we talked about regarding the tree of knowledge. There's also sorts of other things regarding the letter Kof as well that is connected to Mashiach. So this is Niksov, longed. This is Yaakov who longed for his father's house. This is Laban saying, why did you take my gods? Really significant number. So it's 930, exactly the same as the square ordinal for Etrog. 66 ordinal come to 999. I've talked about this a lot. 999 are the footsteps of Mashiach ben Yosef that we do below, through this exile, battling away against the forces of Satan, empowered with the light of Mashiach within, but also confronting the devil himself in order to refine us, and in order so we're not annihilated by either Satan or by the light of Mashiach ben Yosef. Both can annihilate us. One in a holy way, one in a not so nice way. 935 times 186. So these footsteps are an ultimate revelation of the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. They're an ultimate overcoming for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the Etrog in this case, the square ordinal of Etrog, and ultimately a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, nothing else beside it. This word here, this number here, 1266, is exactly the same as the 2 words that Yosef spoke to the cupbearer, remember me to Pharaoh and take me out. The irregular of both those come to 1266. Those 2 years represent the 2,000 years of Mashiach ben Yosef's exile. It's to perfect our faith, the whole of humanity's faith. That's why we stand on the mountain of Amanah at the end, because we will have attained perfect faith. Faith in what? Faith in the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, that there's only him, nothing else beside. Everything is about him. Everything in the concealment becomes a revelation. There's only him. Behold, I have refined you, but not as silver. No, not as silver. There's a connect even here in the Niksov and Bekosef, and it's also like 2 of the letters of Yosef, isn't it? Yosef. 186. We have been refined through this entire process of rectification, the 6,000 years of humanity, and more specifically the 2,000 years of Edomite exile. We have been refined, but not as silver. We've been in the crucible of evil itself. From the 6 days of the beginning. This is where our reward comes from. Mesheshet Yemei Bereshith. Mashiach ben Yosef. The ram of the Akedah was from the 6 days of creation. The statue with which Armalus was created through was from the 6 days of the beginning. The wine that we will drink for our reward comes from the 6 days of the beginning. So the ultimate reward, what wine are we going to drink? What's it all about? It's all about revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Waw in his utter perfection, and that we've been part of it and partakers of it. Partakers of his perfection. Elder and Midrash prophesying in the camp. Moshe said, you know, he'd rather them all be doing this prophesying. Joshua wasn't happy about it, because Joshua represents us in an immature state. Moshe's in the mature state. Well, he'd like to see everybody at that level. At what level? At the level where they're able to comprehend the name of Yod-Heh-Waw. That's what ultimate prophecy is. It says the testimony of Yeshua is a prophecy as well, because to truly know the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef is to truly know Yod-Heh-Waw. From the river of Egypt until the great river, the river Euphrates, so the Prat river is the inner dimension of the Torah, which is Mashiach ben Yosef. That's why you've got Yosef ben Prat. It's related to the word Prat, a river. It's the 4 rivers that came out of Eden, the 4 in ways of interpreting Torah. The secret level is connected to the river Prat. Sod, spelt out, comes to 566. We saw that number in this, what we were doing, 11 times 566. 566 is Mashiach ben Yosef. We can see these are the exact same numbers as here. We've got the 499 as well. 499, you've got the 499 footsteps on the left, 499 footsteps on the right, and together they are the 999. It's actually 499.5 on each side that make up the 999. So there's some connection there between all this, the 999 footsteps. The 1000th footstep will come from above as an act of grace. It's the revelation of Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben Dawid. That is what we are waiting. That is Adam fully rectified. There's a Aleph Gadol, and it's written in the Torah at the word Adam. When Adam attains that 1000th, the Aleph Gadol is worth 1,000. Normally it's 1, but once it's in its big state, it's written big in the Torah for Adam Shet Enosh, and that big Aleph for that Adam represents man finally rectified, so that his image of Yod-Heh-Waw is perceivable. Okay, he's very good. Tov Me'od. And then we've got keeping remembrance the teaching of Moshe. So that comes to an ordinal of 185, Adakalel 186, because the Torah is a revelation of the name of Yod-Heh-Waw, although in some instances it's hidden. We've got to seek and find. What was its name was already called. So again, you've got the Ma Shehayah 186. This is related to Moshe again. And then you've got, if you will request, return and come. Again, 186. If you go and look at Zohar, what it's got to say about this particular verse, it tells you that if you want to understand the entire of the Edomite exile, go look at this verse. It begins, this is the book of the Lord. The book of the Lord. Okay. All interesting stuff. Let's go look. I just wanted to show you how all those numbers were related to 186 and the significance of the gematria of that. So now let's go and have another look at another aspect that is so interesting. We got this concept here. It's wonderful. I listened to a rabbi's teaching on Balak, a rabbi that I really do like, by the way, because he spared my soul from a lot of grief. It comforted me. It comforted me when some really nasty Erev Rav Jews. I'm not opposed to Jews at all. I love the Jewish people, even the Erev Rav Jews. I know that they are garbed up for their own protection. But sometimes it grieves you when you see these people just acting like people that they shouldn't be acting like. And this rabbi put it into perspective for me. You know why sometimes the Jews have to behave like that? To save their life. Because you see the nations throughout this 2,000 years would have annihilated every Jew. So, you know, you have to have a bit of a tough exterior when dealing with the nations, because you've got to protect yourself. But sometimes I find it a little bit, I think to myself, can you not do better than that? Do you have to behave like that? Do you have to say those things? Do you really think those things? And then I think to myself, just let them save themselves. We'll sort it out at the end when Mashiach comes. Let's not judge each other too harshly. We're all in this horrific exile. We know what the reality of it is. You know, we do any means possible to get us from A to B. The Jews have survived. All credit to them, because they have been up against the worst forces of Satan possible. So anyway, so I listened to the rabbi because he brought me some comfort, and he added a lot of good perspective to me, because I was starting to get a little bit, what's the word, pricked. You know, I was starting to get, you know, grieved a bit too much, and you know, you can easily sometimes hate what is on the outside of the Jewish people, just as you can hate what's on the outside of Christians. It's something sickening and repulsive about it. But then you just got to take a deep breath and remember we're all in exile. You know, there's a means to this, but we've got to be careful as well, because this is a very destructive force. It's not something you can be friends with. You've got to be guarded, you've got to understand it, but at the same time you've got to guard yourself from it. It's evil. It's evil. You've got to know how to act. You can't go all lovey-dovey. Be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Deal with reality, not with the imagination. Right, so Balak. I'm going to show you the teaching why this is so incredibly beautiful, but first I just want to show you some numbers that are connected to it. Balak comes to 165, and you shall love your neighbour as yourself comes to 956. Add them together, come to 1121. Add a kalel for this, because it's a mystery, comes to 1122. However, this unity between love your neighbour as yourself and Balak, and we're going to see in a minute what it's all about. I just can't bring everything up all in one go. But you can see it's clearly linked to this whole concept of Zipporah and a foreskin. This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. The teaching behind this is, to me, it's beautiful, Torah. It really is beautiful. We saw in the last two lessons how Balak is related to this whole thing. He's actually a descendant, his ancestor of King David. It's so significant. And even Balak in itself, look, comes to 165. If you add 3 kalel, one for each of his letter, it comes to 166, which is the square ordinal of David. Some lost holy spark within Balak, who we normally remember for evil, but through these teachings, there's revelations within Balak that shine a different light on it. Just offer a different perspective. It's really quite wonderful to me. So Balak, united with this concept, you shall love your neighbour as yourself, is related to this. It's also related to David. Some other significant things. Unity of Yaakov and Esav. So Esav is the Me'od, Yaakov is the Tov. Unity between body and soul, between Israel and the nations, between male and female, between heaven and earth, between the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh and Elohim. Okay, ultimately it becomes Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh Shalom. When Esav is transferred into Shalom, Esav has got exactly the same gematria as Shalom. So we've got two ways of spelling Yaakov in the Tanakh. Yaakov is sometimes spelt with an extra vav, so it's got a different number. So if we add that unity, and the unity once Yaakov is rectified, it comes to 1122. exactly the same as this and connected to this. Well, it's the same as this and it's connected to this through the kalel. This is another important thing. Cream and honey he shall eat when he knows how to choose good and reject evil and choose good. So when we get to that perfection of being able to sort the consequence out from eating the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which has created this mixture of everything being good and bad, which requires us to be able to accurately sort it. Once we attain the level of Mashiach, this is a prophecy about Mashiach, eat cream and honey he shall eat, when he can discern between good and bad. So that's where we're trying to get to, aren't we? We're trying to discern good from bad. We're really trying to see the good in everything, the potential for everything to reveal that there's ultimately good and perfect, the name Yod-Heh-Wah, where everything can be a form of revelation. The greater the concealment, the greater the revelation, the greater the potential. If only we have eyes to see, if only we have ears to hear, if only we circumcise our understanding and circumcise our hearts, which is connected to understanding. So we've got a triangular number, square ordinal added up, 1730. It's connected up here as well to the triangular number. So that's wonderful. And then we've got this, Yosef is still alive. Again, we've got the connection up here, 173. This is 2 times 173. We've also got this connection, 1122. Yosef is still alive. That's the ultimate revelation of truth. That's the truth that gives Yaakov the extra vav in his name. That's the truth that we're spending these last 2,000 years wrestling to reveal. Od Yosef Chai. Yosef is still alive. This enlivens Yaakov, our soul, to take dominion over Esau. It's the truth that Yosef is still alive. But Yosef, at this time, is garbed up in the foreskin of Esau. That light is garbed up just as the light of Yosef was hidden under the garb of Pharaoh. Too bright a light. It was too much for his own brothers. They wanted to kill him. We want to kill this light, because if not, this light will kill us. It'll nullify us. We won't be anything in the presence of this light. Just like the brothers was insignificant. Their lives was meaningless because everything was centered around Yosef. Things had to change. You know, Yosef was humbled, dressed up as Pharaoh, then he could meet his brothers, and then he could meet his father again. Right, so let's go and have a look at this whole Balak. How does the Torah portion of Balak demonstrate? So this was the Torah video that I watched on YouTube. Rabbi Breitowitz, who exactly is Bilam? And he said something. It was absolutely wonderful. To me, it's absolutely wonderful Torah. He's taken from the actor of Ohev Yisrael. The name, so Ohev Yisrael, every Torah portion is somehow connected to Ahavat Yisrael, the love of Israel. So somebody had questioned him, well, how is the Torah portion of Balak? How is the Torah portion of Balak, how does that indicate the love of Israel? The actor replied, the vase of Balak, the vase, the Beth of Balak is Ve'ahavta, the Lamed is Liyarecha, the Kuf is Chemocha, so Ve'ahavat, here look, and you shall love your neighbour as yourself. However, the Vav is not a vase. The Lamed is a Lamed of Balak, and the Kuf is a Chaf in Chamoka. And that's also connected to the revelation of Mashiach ben Yosef, the revelation of the name of Yod-Heh-Wah above the letter of the Torah, the all-merciful seeing level of Keter, the one eye where everything's all good, and it opens up Mi Kamocha, so it's connected to the 13 attributes of mercy. Love your neighbour as yourself, there's a connection to it. However, the letters were not the same. The Vav it's a Vav for Ve'ahavt L'Recha Kamocha instead of a Bet. And it's a chaf instead of a kof. And the Opterev, which I think is wonderful, he says, when it comes to love, you can overlook the details. It sounds the same, overlook the details. A ves sounds like a vav, and a chaf sounds like a kof. That's all you need to know when it comes to love. So I thought that was wonderful, Torah. So if you add the balak and the ahavta together, it links us up to this particular section of this incredible incident, including Zipporah. This is really what's going to have to happen when the two brothers unite. There's going to be a lot of details you have to overlook. This rabbi helped me to overlook my details, because all I was seeing was, you know what you guys look like. I consider myself as Yosef. I'm looking at these guys thinking, you're just sounding like Amalek. You're real. And I was hating them, and I didn't want to hate them because I knew they were Jews. I was thinking, Jews on the outside, what is coming out of your mouth? And it weren't until I listened to this rabbi talking about what these particular Jews were talking about, that I was thinking, yeah, let me just not be too quick to judge. Let's remember what my Jewish brothers had to suffer these last 2,000 years. And then if I can walk in their shoes, maybe I'll have something to say. I think I could be a whole lot worse than them. I don't think I would be in the gates of Jerusalem talking Torah and going to yeshiva. I think I would have been out of this world. So, it just helped comfort me, because I was feeling a bit anxious about just how evil sounding some Jews can be. It's Erev Rav Jews, and they can be so arrogant and so supreme. You just want to squash him with your foot. So it comforted me. So I like listening to some of his Torah. I try and listen to it every week. It's always good. He's on Yiboneh, by the way. Bilam is Lavan reincarnated. Yeshua was Bilam. In the Talmud, some of the instances and stories about Bilam are actually Yeshua. Okay, so there's a connection there. Are they really talking about Yeshua HaNotzri? I've gone through this in previous teachings. Most of the occasions that Yeshua HaNotzri is talked about, Yeshu HaNotzri talked about in the Talmud, has nothing to do with the Yeshua of Christianity. Lavan, who cheated Yaakov, now comes back to deceive Yisrael. The Gemara used a pseudonym for Yeshua, Bilam. It says here, look, never again did there arise in Israel a prophet like Moshe, but in the nations there did arise who? Balaam, son of Beor. There is a difference between Moses' prophecy and Balaam's prophecy. Moshe did not know who spoke to him, but Balaam knew who spoke to him, as it says in Numbers 24:16. The words of the one who hears the sayings of God. Moses did not know when God would speak to him until he was spoken to, but Balaam knew when he would speak, as it says, who knows the knowledge of the Supreme One? With Moshe, God would not speak to him until he was standing, as it says in Deuteronomy 5:28. But as for you, stand here with me. But with Bilam, God would speak to him even while fallen, as it says in Numbers 24:4. Who sees a vision of the Almighty while fallen with uncovered eyes. Okay, so one last bit that I think is interesting. So how does the Torah portion of black demonstrate heart of Israel? We've already gone through that, haven't we? This is just a portion where it talks about Yeshua being Balaam. Sectarian said to Rabbi Hanina, do you know how old Balaam was? Rabbi Hanina replied, is it not written? However, since it says, Psalm 55:24, men of bloodshed and deceit will not live out half their days. He was 33 or 34. The heretic said, you said, well, I have seen the chronicle of Balaam, and it said at 33 years, Balaam, the lame, was killed by Pinchas the robber. That's from Sanhedrin 106b. This is probably talking about Yeshua, or the Yeshu from Yeshua, Sefer Toldot Yeshu. Okay, which is not Yeshua Hanotzri as is within Christianity. It's this, the timings are not there. The timings are all out. It couldn't possibly be him. Balaam is Yeshua and Pinchas the robber is Pontius Pilate. However, this is just part of the foreskin of Asaph that's necessary to keep the two camps apart. The two revelations of the name of Yod-Heh-Wah with the two sticks. There will come a time in the hand of David when they are brought back together. But just as Yaakov separated Yosef and Yehuda into two camps, so too Yod-Heh-Wah when he sent us into Esau. And these are the things that keep us apart. You know, creating a divide through the teachings that we accept as authority. It just does the trick. But also written into it is the secret thread to bring us back together. It just depends how prepared you are to humble yourself and to really look at what is before you, to see what it is really revealing instead of what our imagination fills in all the gaps for us and our ego. If we take this for example, Pontius Pilate, it comes to, we've just come up with that, haven't we? 564, that was twice that's come up before, but anyway, we're not going to go through that now. The square ordinal of Pontius Pilate is 1839, 3 times 613, which are the commandments. So it could be code name for the commandments. And if it's talking about Yeshu, as found in Sefer Toldoth Yeshu, he was killed by the commandments. If it's related to, and it is in a hidden way related to Yeshua HaNatzri, because this is what it is common knowledge. It's the Jewish people understand it to mean Jesus from Christianity. Okay, so we'll go with that then. We can even work with the concealment. It's going to reveal something to us. And it's like Yeshua said, I must go away with the light of Yehuda. I must hide. I've got to go and essentially die by being covered up by the 70 layers of Esau's foreskin. But I'm going to send a comforter to you. And that was a Ruach HaEmet, the Spirit of Truth. So he had to go through that death, you know, in order to reveal the Spirit of Truth that would guide us through, certainly guide the Christian camp, the camp of Yosef, through this Edomite exile. Okay, it's beautiful, really. So where do we get that from? We get that from the square ordinal, and that's Shiloh, by the way. 345 for Shiloh, and the ordinal is 48. I think add them together come to 393. It's also the Negara. I think Negara, the 5 initial letters for the serpent, is also the five initial letters of the Erev Rav, Negara. Pretty sure come to 393. I'd have to look that up. There is a connection. 1839 for the Spirit of Truth comes from the square ordinal plus the regular, and it's also to do with the revelation of the commandments. But this the Torah of Mashiach ben Yosef is the Torah that's above the letter of the law, but it is still a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Wah. Okay, and with that I will say shalom. Please subscribe and share. Thank you.